The Ukraine, 1 plus 7. Rain, wet snow. Belarusia, plus 5, some sediments. The Volga-Vyatsky region, 0 plus 5. In the north, minus 2. The central region, 0 to plus 5, some sediments. The Black Earth region, 0 to plus 5, some sediments, mostly snow. Central Volga region, 4 to plus 9, some sediments. And the Koma ASSR, in the southern part, minus 5, in the north, minus 10. And the Perm region, 0 to plus 5 centigrade Celsius. St. Petersburg, plus 2 to plus 4, some sediments. Moscow, at night, 0 to minus 3. Daytime, 0 to plus 3 Celsius. The Studio of Informational Programs of Television. Point of view. It's interesting. Yeltsin has discussed with the military the possibility of having a nuclear strike in the Ukraine. What can I say? Of course, you should ask Yeltsin about this, not me. But I'm convinced that this is pure trash. Yeltsin could not say this thing. I know his positions very well, and I know his positions about inter-republic relations, and this is absolutely impossible. But such an issue brought up in an independent paper is fairly bold, and it's very sensational. Yellow journalism. It speaks of the serious position of our inter-republic relations, especially with the Ukraine. Can I ask you a question, please? For many years, I was thinking about this issue. I know that while I'm talking to you, that there is a whole team of people on the ground with their finger on the button, officers in the Ukraine on the ground. I'm sure that they must follow the orders of the Central Strategic Command. And if that's not the case, then we have more than one nuclear power, but we have 4 nuclear powers within the territory. That means that we are, in the most categorical way, have violated the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Pact, which was signed by the USSR, and which has not been revoked. That means we have become a very dangerous power, more dangerous than Hussein. That's Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and Kazakhstan. Yes, of course. I understand very well that the Central Command of Strategic Forces must incorporate all these republics, their views. That's just one aspect, but the other side is planning of this organization must not give anyone any doubt, especially the United States, that we in any way have gone beyond the framework of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Pact. This would be a catastrophe, and it will change and worsen international relations and all our nuclear partners. You are the chairman of the Supreme Soviet Committee of International Affairs of the Russian Republic. International affairs are now being called the relations of Russia with other republics. International politics for Russia starts beyond the Russian borders, yes. Can I ask you a sincere question? I myself Together with you, we voted for the sovereignty of Russia at the first session of People's Deputies in the Ukraine, which today wants to have nuclear weapons on its territory. What do you have to say about this? When I voted for the sovereignty of Russia, I voted for a civilized sovereignty within the framework of the USSR. By the way, you might remember that we voted for the sovereignty with the condition that we would delegate part of the Soviet organs to other areas. That means that assumed that we would delegate authority among other republics, yes. And I believe that when I voted, I had in mind the status, our status, as a nuclear power. And when I was voted, realized that we should not be heedless, giving our status as a nuclear power and distribution of power. The relations of our republic among the world. One very dangerous condition I would like to remark upon. Those officers who are answering, who have their fingers on the button, has anyone asked them who they want to belong to? Do they want to be part of the Ukraine or Russia or part of the Soviet Union? They have their own rules, their own regulations. And if they disagree with something, is it possible that they might not follow someone's orders? I'm sure that there are very responsible officers sitting in those positions. And I'm sure many of them are probably more responsible than some of our republic leaders. And I'm sure that they will fulfill only the orders of their direct leadership, of their single strategic command. And if this is not the case, I repeat, it's a catastrophe for all of the human race. We are becoming sovereign, not in a vacuum, but in a common human society, common world society. We are part of a process of nuclear non-proliferation. We belong to nuclear pacts. We cannot go beyond their scope. It will be a catastrophe for us. This is all very well understood, and I am sure that we must create a structure that of nuclear concepts, which would include nuclear control, which would include the collective control of all the republics. But this structure and this planning must be connected by a central authority, coordinated between us and all the countries of the world community. A month ago, even the General Staff of the Armed Forces did not have a clear project which for strategic nuclear weapons, independent of the governments. They did not have their own plans. Has the time come to talk to the Ukraine about reducing these nuclear weapons, just as we talked to the United States? I think such talks about strategic weapons between us and Ukraine have already started. The next day after the coup of August, our delegation, in which I belonged, it was headed by Vice President Ryskoy, Vice President of the Russia. We talked to the Ukrainian government, and we declared in the communique that neither of the sides is taking upon itself any actions in the military strategic sphere without common consent. I cannot say that this communique is being observed. I believe that consultations between both republics are vital. At a state council, in a bilateral process, maybe a quadrilateral process between all those republics on which there are located nuclear weapons. I think the President of the USSR needs to coordinate these sessions and With horror, I ask you once again, is it possible that Yeltsin will discuss with the military the possibility of a nuclear strike against the Ukraine, and Kravchuk will discuss the same with Ukrainian authorities? I'm sure that from neither side can one expect this. There's a very clear strategic reality. Even if we have anywhere we throw a bomb, that will be throwing it against us ourselves. Chernobyl hit 3 republics, the catastrophe in Chernobyl. A nuclear strike will damage ourselves as much as anybody else. It's very unfortunate that we must talk about this today and discussing this a little bit seriously. This is not just imaginary. I very insistently call our neighbors to act responsibly. I respect them and love them. Let's cool off. Let's focus our sights